What's up, everybody? We are back for episode four, Draftsy Podcast. Welcome everyone back today. Today we're going to be talking mostly about football. We're going to recap the college football season, go over some of the Draftsy highlights, all the different ways that teams can break into top categories of Draftsy, and then we are going to talk a little bit about what everyone's talking about this week, which is the Super Bowl. So we'll have some opinions on that. But we also have, God, how could I possibly forget? We have a very special guest today. The king of Bayou Banter, Scott Bishop, is going to be joining us. He is a longtime Draftsy enthusiast. Excited to have him here today with us. To get things started off, though, we'll kick it back to my main man, Needham. He is back with me today.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Oh man, another day, another day. Hey, it's warm on this side of the world right now. It's a
Another
nice
week has
change.
come. Exactly right,
Yeah,
man. I tell you, I love the cold weather. Don't get me wrong, I do. I love it. I love it. I love it. At some point in life, right? It is. You can either put on so many layers of clothes and warm up, or only take off so many layers of clothes before I get arrested. So I prefer the putting clothes on so I don't get arrested concept. That's much better.
and we don't want
Because
that to
I'm
happen again, right?
Yeah,
One
I don't
time's
want.
enough.
Again, yeah. One time it's enough. Me and the elephant, man. I just couldn't handle the elephant anymore. It was just crazy. No, I'm just joking. No, good times though, man. Good times. I'm really excited. Had a really great week
Yeah,
at Draftsy. Just really excited to get the show rolling. Excited to get Scott
mhm,
on. Hadn't
yeah,
seen that guy in a minute, so can't wait to see him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, if we want to kick it over to him and introduce him now, we can do that.
Yeah, let's bring him on board here. Let's see where we got. There he is, right there, the man himself.
King of the
You,
Bayou Banter.
you either love me or hate me, you know? I'm a polarizing figure, at least in our league.
Nah, man, we.
Oh, that's funny.
Um, yeah, no, man. So you were talking about 6 years, you and Lisa.
Yeah, year six, and it's flown by. And I know we're going to be talking about, the app a little bit, and not to, get ahead of the cart, so to speak. But change is good. In the 6 years, Eddie, the changes that have occurred, some people can't embrace change, but once the change happens and we get with the system, it's all good, man. It really is. And I see more change coming for the better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, we've talked about it a couple times already in some previous episodes, but this year was the first year that we got that drafting in, and there's growing pains with it all the time, but it's worth the wait, and we're on the up and up now, and we haven't had any issues, and it's exciting to know that we've got many years ahead of us now to that we'll be able to do this and make it
Yeah,
grow
yeah.
and.
A whole new element to the season by playing Draftsy.
Mhm.
It really does. I mean, you're really in tune. You're focused. Every game counts, and it's fun more than anything else. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. Now I know you got your LSU team, right?
Yeah, my Tigers. I mean, Brian Kelly on the hot seat. All three Rookie of the Year finalists in the NFL this year all went to
Mm,
LSU, and
wow.
it's just crazy how he couldn't, take them next level with all that talent.
What a season Jaden Daniels had, huh? I mean,
Yeah,
leading the Commanders to the playoff victory, right?
yeah.
Big upset over
Neighbor,
the line.
yeah, Neighbors, the wide receiver for the Giants, Thomas. Yeah, all the LSU guys had a great year.
Hmm.
But again, it goes back to Brian Kelly on the hot seat. How long can he stay there?
Yeah. What's the guy's name? Nussmeyer, the quarterback. Is that his last
Yeah,
name?
he's a early season Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
kid. He can be so great, but at times he can look so bad.
Yeah. I bought into the hype for sure because I drafted LSU. I think I was drafting late second round when it came around to me, and I took them on a bit of the hype, And I went against my own gut on that pick because typically I don't take a team that the previous year lost such a high profile quarterback. But the talk was that Nussmeier was going to be the guy to replace him. So
Hey, late in the second round, if LSU's there, you almost have to take them.
yeah, the upside is so big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, not a bad pick. Don't beat yourself up, kid.
No, and they didn't have a terrible season, right? It's just you have a
No,
standard, right? You've
yeah,
got a standard
yep,
there. Uh,
yep. The standard
Unfortunately,
is not 9 or 10 wins at LSU. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Needham is a big Clemson Tigers fan, so he's kind of in that same
Yeah.
turmoil area right now. It's like you're
Uh,
good, you're just not as good as you want to be,
I know it. I know it. We
But
got rid of the term Clemsoning, so at least I'm excited that we got rid of the term Clemsoning for a while. So that was definitely a positive from years ago.
all right, so yeah, we're
Uh,
going to talk about it here in a minute. But which one of your two Tigers are we going to see in the Draftsy Most Valuable Top 25? Who's your guess?
Hmm.
Which one,
uh,
Clemson Tigers or LSU Tigers?
I don't know. I'll go with LSU. I'll stick with my colors.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
stick with Clemson. I got to go for my team anyways, no matter what, man. Even if they're not playing, I'm gonna go for Clemson.
Clemson snuck in there, man. They just
I
snuck in
did.
there. I think they're number 22 or something. LSU was just outside of the top 25.
Yeah.
Um, but interesting enough, man, it's going to make you sick, but it's going to make you happy at the same time. But Clemson beat their rival Gamecocks by 4 points in the top 25. Four points in Draftsy, not four rank spots. I mean, they were 22. I think South Carolina surprisingly made it into 23. So let's
Wow.
get over there and look at that Draftsy top 25.
All right. Let's see what we got here. Wow,
Yeah,
man. OSU number or OU one, man. They got first place. Notre Dame, of course.
yeah. So what you're gonna see in the Draftsy top 25 anymore, especially with the college football playoffs at 12 teams, that team that runs the gauntlet and wins the championship. They're going to have the opportunity to score more Draftsy points. So you're going to see that team at the top. You got Ohio State and Notre Dame up there. And then 8 of the top 9, or 9 of the top 10, I should say, made the playoffs. With Miami sneaking in there at number 8. Scott, do you see any teams on this list that surprise you?
Eddie, I have to tell you, buddy, our draft war room worked countless hours preparing for the draft. Look at number 7 and look at number 9. We have
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State at number 7, Indiana
Mm-hmm.
at number 9.
Yep.
I'm so proud of our scouting, our staff. We picked those
Mm-hmm.
teams, Eddie, and we picked them kind of high. We didn't. These, these guys weren't at the bottom like in round like 18. We picked
Yeah.
these guys based on their returning production value, and
Yep.
they got me in the playoffs again. So number 7, number 9, obviously huge surprises for everybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, those two teams, an average draft position of somewhere between 8th and 10th rounds.
Yeah.
Indiana notoriously, a very late round pick in Draftsy. Um,
Yep.
but boy, what a season they had. So I'll give you another trivia question. Who are the top two scoring teams in college football this year? Not Draftsy, just in scoring per game.
I know Indiana could run it up and leave no
Yep.
doubt. That's for sure.
Miami, Florida, and Indiana. Yep.
Yeah.
They were the top two. And man, what a shock. Miami, Florida, okay, you kind of expect maybe they're going to be there. But in Indiana, what did they score? Didn't they score like 87 points in a game this year against somebody at the beginning of the year? It
Run
was wild.
it. Yeah. Yeah, but again, with Indiana, then it goes back to the talk about the schedule, and they showed themselves. Everyone said they cruised with an easy schedule, and
Mm-hmm.
they snuck into the playoff. That was a big debate as well. Did they deserve to be there?
Hmm.
Needham, over
Yeah.
under Arizona State coming into the season. How many wins were they projected to have?
Arizona State, I would probably say is 4. I mean,
Four and
they
a
really were
half.
4.5.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yep.
I'm really surprised. I mean, even looking at SMU, man. I mean, coming out of nowhere, like they surprised me. The fact that Jacksonville State was in the top 25. Was it
Number 25.
Jacksonville's? Yeah, they for their first year, right? This was their first year in Division One, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that they're
Yeah.
even
First
coming to the top
official year, I
25,
think. Yeah.
official year. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I agree, Arizona and Indiana, but SMU at 10. I mean, in 10th place. I mean, their season record was 8-8. I mean, they were better than Clemson, but they were
Yeah.
8-0, right?
Yeah. Clemson
Yeah,
beat
eight,
them in
eight,
the
eight.
championship game, but
Yeah,
in the regular season, yeah, they ran the table. But they were projected at 8.5 wins, so they did have some expectation of a good season. It was just more so how they were going to adapt being in the ACC,
right, right. That was
which
that
obviously.
was my biggest surprise is they did exceptionally well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now that may mean that the ACC sucked this year, which is probably also the case.
You know what though? I mean, look at the list. You got Miami, you
Yeah,
got
yeah,
Syracuse, you got Clemson. There's three teams.
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like there was another, and Louisville.
Yeah,
Uh,
the conference never gets any love. I mean, and they don't, and Clemson. I mean, people rag on them for playing in a weak conference, so to speak. Um, the ACC is what it is. Now you have teams flying from the left coast taking the red eye to play somebody on the East Coast, which is totally insane.
it's so wild, man. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
really is.
like these guys aren't taking a beating enough every week. Now you got to get the jet lag going and just these
Yep.
crazy Atlantic Coast Conference with Stanford, California in it, and it's dumb. In California, two teams in California.
Yep. The new
Uh,
wild land of college
mhm.
football.
Yeah, but the ACC, I can't believe it. I mean, they got five teams in the Draftsy top 25, and they went 1-10 in bowl games. So
Yeah,
they were just beating up on each other in conference play and capitalizing on poorly ranked, top 25 rankings.
yeah,
You get a team, ranked. I mean, look at Georgia Tech. First game of the season, they played number 10 Florida State. Florida State obviously wasn't number 10 this year, right? But
right.
they get that upset victory, pull off those upset points, and all of a sudden you got five ACC teams in the Draftsy top 25, which I wouldn't have guessed. Obviously, the SEC led the top 25 with six teams, which kind of makes sense, right? Throughout the season, there's more. Them and the Big Ten are
And
pretty
them in the
close
big
together.
and I think that's going to be the name of the game, for the next 3 to 4 years. Big Ten,
Mhm.
SEC. Yep.
Right. And they just get more opportunity to get those upset points, which is going to add to your draftsy value. If you're jacking up your points any way you get them, top 25 points, that unranked 30 bonus point, that if you can get a hold of one of those, that makes your week. Um,
Crushes them right there,
but
man.
yeah. So Needham, let's take a look at a couple of these schedules and see how these teams got there. Um,
All right.
Take a look
Oh,
at let's go with Memphis. Memphis, Tulane, and Army. You got three teams in the AAC that broke the top 25 this year, which I'll tell you what, the AAC is becoming one of my favorite conferences to watch. Um, Army coming up and winning that conference, knocking off Tulane in the championship game for the conference. That was just nobody saw Army winning the AAC in their first year in, and it almost came down to Army and Memphis. Yes. So click on. Yeah, there you go.
I got to
Get to
change
the
Very top heavy.
2024.
That's one of the things about that conference is it's very top heavy. You'll have great teams in that conference.
Mm-hmm.
Great or you suck in that conference.
Yeah, and so what's going to happen too is, again, look at Memphis. They capitalized on, they had that Florida State game in the non-conference schedule, and they came on Florida State when it was, Florida State just can't do anything right. And then they get to play the weaker teams in that conference. So Scott, I know you're not a big fan of strength of schedule, but these conferences, this is where teams can capitalize on that strength of schedule.
Yep.
You look at that North Alabama, 40-0 to kick the season off, and then you got Charlotte and UAB, North Texas.
Yep. Perennial doormats. You're either great or you're yeah. I mean, yeah, that conference. I said never again. All it took was 1 year for me, and I said never. I'm not taking that team again.
Who was that?
Charlotte. I don't think they've had a winning season in the 6 years I've
Yeah.
been playing with y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny that you say that because I think I took Charlotte maybe 2 years ago, and I said the same thing.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not again. Yeah, I think they were projected to win 6 games. I think they won 2. But yeah, I love to watch how these teams find success in Draftsy in different ways. And seeing Jacksonville State up there in Conference USA, again, it's a team that did the job against the conference teams that they played. Conference USA they were on the struggle bus this year, and Jacksonville State. I think that they get overlooked, man. They were a great Division II school before they moved up officially into Division I, and they just keep their recruiting classes coming in, and they're surprising these lower tier Division I teams that have been there. So Needham, I don't know if you were having a hard time getting on those links there.
No, I got them.
You got them.
Who do you want now? Who do you want? Jacksonville State?
Yeah, I want to see what they did this year and how they broke into the top 25.
All right, let's come back into this. So that's our schedule right here. Let me come into this and see changes to 2024. There we go.
So they averaged 36 points per game this year, which is that's pretty good. Anything above 35 points is good. I think we mentioned earlier Miami, Florida, and Indiana. I think Miami had the most per game at 43. Indiana was second at 41. So Jacksonville State at 36 points per game, that's pretty solid. And
they really got it going. Yeah, they got it going like September 21st onward.
Yep. They you can't get off to much of a worse start than that, especially considering 2 of the 3 teams that they lost to there. Obviously, Louisville went on to have a great season. They made the top 25 as well. But Coastal Carolina and Eastern Michigan both very down years this year. Eastern Michigan, I'm not going to throw them in there with Coastal Carolina this year. They were better than Coastal Carolina. But to lose those 2 out of 3 games and then go on to win like they did, that's a great turnaround. They really had luck on their side though, following those 3 games because Southern Miss, Kennesaw State, and New Mexico State, boy, they just sucked this year.
Just looking at talk about a turnaround. Look at the game November 30th against Western Kentucky. And then I'm assuming that was their conference championship game the following week. Look at that. You lose 19-17. Lo and behold, what a difference a week makes, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. That was really cool to see.
What do you
Yeah.
think what do you think the cause for that was? Like what happens? Was there a team member transfer on Western Kentucky side? What's your best
Uh,
guess?
I I doubt it. Not for the conference championship game. There's no transfer going on at that point in time. I just think that I just think that you know they woke up and said we're not going to let this happen again. you know,
Yeah. I mean, you're dealing with 18, 19-year-old kids, 20-year-old kids, right? What a difference a week
Right.
makes. Maybe they partied the week before. Who knows, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I I guarantee you that is a legitimate reason as to why many of these games turn out the way that you wouldn't expect them
Yeah.
to. Um,
Behind the
I,
scenes of college
yeah,
football.
I know we're talking about Jay State, but I think at least in our league, the highly esteemed FBS league, to all of you other league members out there, we got it going on. But I think Valerie, who had an amazing year in our league,
mhm.
wound up picking those mid-level teams like in Ohio, a
Mhm.
Jacksonville State. I mean, that's a difference maker too when you're playing Draftsy, is getting
Mhm.
those mid-level teams,
Yeah.
non-power five. Yeah. So she did an unbelievable job drafting three or four of them that were all bowl eligible.
Yes. Yes. And they ended up doing well in their bowl games as well.
Yeah.
And you'll end up seeing the Ohio Bobcats that you just mentioned on our top defensive list for Drafty this year when we get to that later today. Um, so yeah, it's cool to see how all these different teams get there. We're celebrating the college draftsy football season today and talking about some of these top 25 teams. And I think one of the teams that is on there that we haven't mentioned yet is a prime example as to what sets draftsy apart from any other fantasy league that you've been a part of. And that is the UNLV running Rebels that had their quarterback just peace out on them 3 weeks, 4 weeks into the season. And I mean, they were rolling. They were having, they were on pace for school record in so many different categories. And there was a dispute on what he was going to receive from the school, and he just bailed. And guess what? If you have a quarterback on your NFL fantasy team that just doesn't play for the rest of the season, your fantasy season's done, man. But guess what?
Yeah.
UNLV, the team, man, it didn't stop them. If you drafted UNLV, you still got to roll with your points, and they still had a great season. Um, so me personally, I thought that was awesome to see, and it was just such a good moment for Draftsy and the structure that we've created. That your season isn't ruined if one player goes down because you got the team behind them. So
Yeah.
I was happy to see that. Needham, you want to jump over to our sponsor before we get rolling into some of the other Draftsy highlights of the season?
Yeah, that sounds good. Hey guys, just really quick, if you made it this far to the podcast, like and subscribe. Leave us any comments, whatnot. Let us know if you like us. Give some hands up and love to Scott and Eddie and the show. If you got any questions, want to be on the show, let us know. Hit us up in the comments, and we'll take it out to our sponsor.
Hi there. I'm here to tell you about the Draftsy Fantasy Sports app. Traditional fantasy sports can be stressful and time-consuming. If I don't get a new quarterback by game time, my whole season is ruined!
I can't wait until fantasy football season, said no wife ever.
Dude, I don't get it. Like, it needs to be easier. That's where Draftsy comes in. You pick the teams, not the players. Enjoy the game again. Make Draftsy your new fantasy.
All right. Thank you, Drafty, for sponsoring the It's cheap plug for the app. It's
just
okay, though. It's okay.
just talking to ourselves, just talking
That's
to
exactly
ourselves.
right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
I love that commercial. I think they did a great job putting that together.
Oh, that was fun. That was fun to watch that come together there.
Yeah. All
Um,
right. All right, so what's next, man? Like 25 top 25 bonus points, right? Like who got the most bonus points out of Draftsy? Is that how I understand this?
That is correct. That is correct. So, for those that don't know, the top 25 bonuses, this is where you can really rack up on some points. The highest bonus point that you can get is if you own an unranked top 25 team that upsets any top 25 team. You can rack up 30 bonus points on top of your win and points per game. Then the second one is if you own a top 25 team that upsets a better top 25 team, you get bonus points. And then the third one is if you own any top 25 team that beats even a lesser ranked top 25 team, you still get bonus points for beating these better teams and playing those tougher schedules.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this top 25 bonus point rankings.
A lot of ties.
And yes, a lot of ties, a lot of ties. And what you're going to see here immediately, Scott, what jumps out at you right here, just based on looking at these teams?
Well, obviously, a team like Arizona State, that came out of nowhere. I mean, they upset a heck of a lot of people to reach, the overall ranking. So I see a lot of teams that pull off upsets.
Yeah,
Obviously, you're going to have a lot more Power Five teams near the top because
exactly. That's what I
Power
was getting
Five,
at.
yeah, yeah, they play each other, so you have more opportunities to get those, I guess, if you will, smaller bonus points. But I like seeing, like, look at Kansas. I mean, out of nowhere at number four there. But
Yeah,
yeah, Power Five schools give you that opportunity to get more bonus points. But if you get an Indiana or an Arizona State team in your draft, you're going to get bonus points if they wind up having a pretty good year, no doubt.
yeah, yep. And those are great points. And I would say any of those teams tied for fourth, uh, you take a look at and first glance, you're like, how did that happen? But Kansas, I don't know. Kansas was the one that for me was just like, how on earth did they show up here? Because they went 5-7 on the season. So
Yeah, I
that
was going
means,
to say, yeah,
yeah, so that means
I,
almost every win that they had was against a top 25 team.
yep,
So,
yep.
so to break that down, since they were 5-7, they may have been ranked at the very beginning of the season, very very beginning. But all those wins that they had against top 25 teams, they were unranked, so they were getting maximum bonus points every time they pulled that off. And we'll
And
take a
what does that say though about the conference that they played in as well? I mean, if Kansas is racking up all those points, that's a weak conference right there.
that would be a safe statement. I mean, there's no reason to not believe that. Um, but it kind of seems like they were playing beneath their ability for the first half of the season, and then look what happened there from October 26th to November 16th. They just reel off three top 17 wins,
Yeah.
and just bust open the upset category. So what a run they went on! I was watching that, I was following that, and all they had to do was play Baylor in the last game of the season to make a bowl game. And what an unbelievable run that would have been to get to 6 wins and get to a bowl game. But I think they just ran out of steam right there and didn't have enough left in the tank to get that sixth win. But what a run they had. That was really cool to see. Cool to see how these teams get to the bonus points. Um, there was another team. Syracuse was kind of the Cinderella of the ACC, I think, this year. I had Syracuse this year. I put a lot of stock into their quarterback. I do believe that was the quarterback that transferred out of Ohio State. And forgive me, it's been a while since I looked at the names, but I believe that's who that was. And they kept showing up in the big games and racking up on those top 25 points as well. So obviously, Needham, Notre Dame, Texas, and who was the third one there?
Ohio State.
Ohio State, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Play a
and
lot of top 20 teams. That's going to happen. Yep.
yeah, and so they all had multiple playoff wins as well. So when you get into the top 12 teams, obviously every team that you play is ranked, and you're going to increase your bonus point um, standings. So Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State all had multiple wins in the college football playoff. So it skews the bonus points a little bit, but you're going to see those teams at the top of this list most of the time. I'm more intrigued by those, tied for fourth, through 10th place rankings. I think that tells a better
It,
story on the Draftsy season.
it begs the question, Eddie. I mean, when people draft, I know how hard we work in our draft war room. Um, do people look at the bonus point aspect? I know when I draft, I'm more of a returning production value guy. I like seeing who's coming back on the roster. Um, but it's I don't know how people draft, and that's the beauty of it. That if you do wind up playing this year as a rookie, there
Mm-hmm.
are so many different ways and strategies that you can put your team together. I never
Mm-hmm.
look at bonus points. I don't think about that when I'm doing the draft. I just let the season kind of fall into place.
Yeah.
So,
Not saying
so,
right or wrong. We all do it differently.
so Scott,
Yeah.
question: when you run your draft, right? You're not looking at their schedule or who they're playing at all. You're just basing when you're doing your picks based on the
No,
team only.
yeah, it's worked for me. My resume speaks for itself. That that little football behind Eddie. I'm a natty champion. I'm a natty runner-up, and hats off to Mare, who is creating a dynasty with her third, natty. But no, I like returning production value.
There you go.
Look at that.
it,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah,
but
Scott.
really,
That's
you have
it.
to keep up with the portal. Ah, there it is, baby, right
That's
there.
it.
Yeah, my life is complete. When I got to sign that football, ditto.
Mhm.
Eddie, why don't you explain what you got there, man, for the viewers? What is that? What is that there?
Oh, this is this has been a part of the original crew for a long time.
Okay.
This goes all the way back to. I got to be careful because as I was getting the nameplates put on it this year, I smacked it on the side of the car, and I don't want to use the word broke, but broke it a little. But it goes all the way back to 2006, right there.
Wow.
That's when we started keeping track of the trophy.
And
Um, but
this is your own league. This is inside you and your buds, you and Scott and all you guys have together, right?
Yep. So this it's the original crew of about 30 people, and we just do something different where we kind of combine our leagues together at the end of the year, and we play for this these bragging rights right here. And oddly enough, I mean, against all odds, it is really hard to tie. But Scott and I tied last year for the championship in the
Mm.
playoffs. And it's the odds of tying are very, very, very small. But we managed to do that. And it's kind of a cool little thing because that's the first time that that's ever happened.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but I would encourage anybody to do that. Get a league, whether it's a trophy or I've seen toilet bowls, passed around, bobbleheads passed around, from winter to winter. But whatever works for you and keeps things going.
Awesome, man.
Draftsy, and it's an easy thing to get involved with, but the competitive juices. Once you're in a league and there's smack talk going on, you're calling your buddies, keeping up with everything. I mean, it's just a fun time.
Hmm.
It's easy to play. If you haven't played, when the owners brought me in as a new franchise, and I passed the votes, I got all the votes needed. I went through so many different interviews to become a member of the league. I'll give you a shout out for calling and inviting. but it's so much fun, y'all. Draftsy is just a unique spin on college football. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get back in and talk. Finish things off with these defensive points for the 2024 season. Going to see some surprises on here for sure, and this is where the rest of the field comes into play because the top 25 bonus points, like we said, the smaller conferences, you're not going to see show up there, not too often, anyways. But here in the defensive points, we'll see a couple more teams that may or may not surprise you.
So your defensive points are basically the ability for the offense of the team to hold the other team to a certain number of points. That's the easiest way to explain it, right, Eddie?
Yep.
Okay.
So the ultimate defensive point is to secure a shutout. If your team shuts the opponent out, that is the biggest defensive bonus point that you can get. And then the points gradually decline then as the opponents reach 10 points. Once a team reaches 10 points, there are no more defensive bonus points available. So what I thought very interesting, though, was Ohio State, number one in the country, won the championship, also number one in defensive bonus points, and number one in top 25 bonus points. So what would you call that? The triple crown? The triple crown of Draftsy?
Yeah, wow.
Right.
So I found that to be very interesting. Mm-hmm. A special pin against the competition of the Big Ten, to show up there with the defensive point number one ranking. I found that to be a little bit surprising. But then look who you got down there, Scott. As you mentioned, Ohio earlier.
Yep, there they are. Yeah, Army right there as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Missouri kind of surprised me, seeing them at number 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's a surprise to my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I've got a funny feeling about that one. Needham, bring up Missouri's schedule right there, if you don't mind.
1 second here. I got Notre Dame up right now. Let me look up Missouri.
So a lot of these teams that show up, and I'm sure Ohio State capitalized on it too, but these bigger teams, those first 4 weeks of the season, they're beating up on some small schools. I know it doesn't happen as much as it used to. It used to be the first 4 weeks of the season, they were all playing the small schools, but it's gotten a little bit more competitive now with the college football playoff. But I think because Missouri, they were projected to be pretty good this year. But they ended up winning games mostly by defense, by playing good defense. So look at that. Look at those first two games.
Yep, right there. Yep.
1, 2, 3 shutouts.
No, they got shut out in one game.
Yeah.
Trust me, I remember. I had Missouri this year. But yeah, they shut out their first 2 opponents. So that's your first 2 games, you just got maximum defense bonus points. And then against Massachusetts. So
down to 3.
Hey, don't you love when you see UMass on your team schedule?
That's a great point.
Getting points. Yeah.
That is a great point. There are certain teams that you look for.
Yep.
Yeah. You're like, I better get 60 points this week, man.
Yeah.
But Missouri definitely capitalized on those crap teams this year. Massachusetts, Buffalo, and I don't know who that first one was, but nobody. I don't even think it was Division I.
Well, for the record, if I may quickly pat myself this past year, but the year Missouri with production value teams that.
I think we lost you for a second.
I think I heard returning production value in there, and I know Scott was he was high on Missouri last year as well, and the Missouri last year was a great team to have on return production value because they had an incredible year last year. So I think that he was going to follow up on that.
Yeah.
But
we'll get back to him
yeah,
when he
so
gets
it's
reconnected.
yeah. Jump over to that Ohio Bobcats schedule though. They jumped into break the top 10 on the Draftsy defensive bonus points. I just want to take a look at that just to show how the the MAC conference, they don't get a whole lot of love during football season outside of midweek games on television. There's a lot of people that I know that draft a MAC team just so they have something to watch on Tuesday and Wednesday when they start playing their conference games.
The Tuesday and Wednesday conference, right?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I think the Sun Belt squeaked in there on Tuesday, Wednesdays too, trying to steal some thunder. But yeah, so they didn't. Let's see, how many games they have? 21-6, 41-0, 24-7, 38-3. So I think I counted it up earlier, and they had 6 games in which they gave up 10 points or less this year.
Right.
But if you take a look, I mean, they got to play Kent State, and anybody that played Kent State this year was licking their chops. Scott mentioned, yeah.
Yep.
Which team was it you just mentioned, Scott? Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anybody that showed up with Kent State or Kennesaw State this year, they were licking their chops, looking for some big points for that week from their teams. So give the MAC a little bit of love right here. We're giving one team some love while pointing out the rest of the teams that suck that they played. But that's a part of Draftsy.
Right. I mean, that's the cool part about it is hopefully you don't draft those guys in the later rounds if you have a large pool of players.
Yeah. I have been stuck with a Kent State in the past. Not this year, but a team like them. And man, that is just a thorn in your side. You almost want them to have a bye week. It's like, don't even play this week. They got a bye week. Good. I can't lose any points.
Important to mention that when you do draft a team, again, if folks want to get in on Draftsy this year, you want your teams to be bowl eligible, because if all your teams are bowl eligible, it gives you an opportunity to get more points, throughout the bowl season, and
Yep.
that's critical. That is critical.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so when you draft a team like Ohio or Eastern Michigan or Western Michigan, you're not looking. These are probably 8th, 9th round picks. You're not looking to go 10-2, 11-1. You're hoping to get that bowl game. Exactly what you said. 6-6, 7-5. That's a victory right there.
Yep.
Yep.
Noticed a couple of teams in this year's playoffs that had out of all their teams being bowl eligible, there were a couple of teams that had 3 or 4 teams that didn't qualify for bowls, and you don't get those points if your team's not playing in the bowl season.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep, I agree.
That's exactly right.
So it was a great college football season. Everybody is talking about a different football game this week, though. Super Bowl Sunday coming up. Needham, you got any plans for that?
Man, like I said earlier, I don't know, but I am going to probably go for the Chiefs, just because I think they're gonna. I'm not going to be dumb about it this year or this time, but the last couple of times I've taken the underdog and lost both times. But I want to try to take the upper dog this year. No, I hope, as I hope every year, that the Super Bowl is a great game. Some days it's a crapshoot of whether it's going to be a great game or not. So hopefully it's going to be a great game. I'll watch it, probably a bowl of chili and some pork rinds because I don't eat crackers, and probably some chicken wings. So that's probably what I'll end up doing. Hanging out with some friends. I'll probably find some buddies of mine. We'll sit down and watch that. Twin Peaks or something like that around here or something. I'll maybe watch that at the house. I don't know. I don't have any plans, but we'll see what happens, man. I definitely think it'll be a good game. the whole football season this year has been kind of weird, both in pro and college. So it'll be a good end to a crazy season, man.
Yeah. Scott, I hear you're a Dynasty fan.
Yeah, I am. So, I'm going to roll with the Chiefs. Being a guy from Boston, I even have my Red Sox pullover on. The Patriots, how they did it for, 20 years. I'm a dynasty guy. I just like when teams do it over and over again. Much respect to them. So I wouldn't mind them winning it just one more time. Then Travis and Taylor can get married. He can retire. Travis can join. He can join his brother, right, and do
Yeah.
podcast full. But we're gonna roll some wings. We're gonna have some friends over, and one of the commercial highlights is: have you seen the spoiler of the Meg Ryan, Billy Crystal Hellman's mayonnaise commercial? Have you seen that at all?
No.
Do you,
I have
you
not.
remember the movie? Remember the movie When Harry Met Sally
Yeah.
at the
Oh,
restaurant
yeah.
scene with Meg
I see
Ryan?
where this is
All right,
going.
so 30 years later, they reunited and they're going to reenact that scene. It's priceless. It's great.
With
So
I
Helmet.
can see
yeah,
where
just
that
going to
makes
share.
sense. It's a
But the
mayonnaise commercial, huh?
Eagles, yep, the Eagles can run the football. I mean, Saquon is scary. He really is.
Oh man, yeah, I love that guy, and a
Yep,
class act too.
yep.
Just a good guy all around. Yeah, I don't want to make a pick. I really don't want to make a pick for the Super Bowl. Mixed emotions. I can respect the dynasty for sure. I hate to even mention the conspiracy theorists out there with the referees and the officials because you can dissect any game and find some very questionable calls. But
They
the teams
seem
that
to
come
get
out on
more
this,
of them though.
yeah,
It seems
it's and some of them are just
true.
absolutely mind-boggling.
Right.
But rather than dive into that uh, pitfall, I'm going to go need them all. I'll swap roles with you here, and I'll take the Eagles.
He'll take the Eagles.
That way, you have your chance to redeem yourself from the college national championship game, and
Right.
you
So
can rub it
I'll
in.
lose. That means I'll lose. That's all that means. Somehow
Yeah,
the Eagles are gonna pull it out of the end.
The
yeah,
Super Bowl is all about family, fun, and food. It's. I hope you guys enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday.
You too, man.
yeah,
You
yeah,
too.
yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's
Does
all
that
we
wrap
got
it up?
for today. Yep,
Guys, well,
yep.
thanks a lot for joining us. Appreciate it, Scott. Thank you for having. Thank you for kind of being on the show with us, man. Really enjoy you being
Uh,
with us, man.
it's just another bucket list thing for me. I got the trophy. Now I'm on the podcast. Who could
I
ask for
love it.
anything more?
I love it,
Life,
man.
life is
You're
good.
always
Life is
welcome
good.
back. You're always welcome back on the
Absolutely.
Thank
show,
you.
man. Definitely enjoyed the commentary, enjoyed the input. Between you and Eddie, you guys are far more knowledgeable about football than I am. I'm just a geek that enjoys playing the game. That's all. But anyways,
We love you, man.
I appreciate it, man. Well, that concludes the show, guys. If you like the show, like, subscribe. Make sure you hit us up on all the interwebs. And until next time, we'll see you guys next week.